The Ready Set Grow podcast is sponsored by Ag Expert, software designed for Canadian agriculture. Visit them today at agexpert.ca. Welcome to the Ready Set Grow podcast, where we like to showcase startup and early stage companies as well as visit with innovators in the agriculture and food industry. Today we are here with Diana Laternis and guest Colin Yates, chair at the Center for Research and Innovation at Fanshawe College. Colin, thanks for joining us today. Can you tell us a little bit about yourself?
Yeah, I actually have a background, believe it or not, in environmental science and ecology. I later moved into more wastewater engineering, but I've always had a passion for agriculture, particularly dairy agriculture. I grew up in rural Ontario, south of Woodstock. My father has been a veterinarian, working on various farms through the region for 45 years. So it's like coming back full circle and being back in London, getting involved in the agricultural sector again, and bringing some of my knowledge as an entrepreneur to the college system. I've had my own startup, very tech-based startup, looking into artificial intelligence and monitoring of drinking water. And now I'm trying to apply some of that knowledge in the agricultural space.
Colin, could you give us a quick overview on Fanshawe College?
Yeah, as you said, Michael, I'm the chair for research and innovation at Fanshawe, and we basically operate the arm of Fanshawe College that assists local and regional companies either to create new products or to help them enhance existing product lines that they have. And we're kind of a tie into the community as a whole, where we can get them to resources like RH Accelerator. We can introduce them to people at Farm Credit Canada. We can introduce them to people that they need for shred credits, since they may be doing a lot of innovative work. They should be looking at all these different resources. So we try to position ourselves in the middle so that we can help these companies be more successful.
Awesome. What types of programs does Fanshawe have in the agri-food space?
I'm not the expert on the academic side by any means, but there are programs that are very technical in terms of biotech type programs, very science based, all the way to the business, the agribusiness side, and then there's the heavy equipment side. That exists at Fanshawe too. But I'm not the expert on what all those programs do, but I know that Fanshawe is doing a good job of getting involved in the agricultural sector and moving into some of the food sector as well. There's some great culinary and now some food innovation programs that are evolving to serve the need around London.
Mm-hmm. And the Research and Innovation Center, is that relatively new?
The Research and Innovation Center itself is not new. As an entity, it's been around for a number of years, but it's really come into its own the last few years with being able to provide specific services and have specific equipment and facilities dedicated to just doing research for companies.
Mm-hmm. And so what type of companies would approach you for their research?
It is quite broad, but what we're really focusing on right now is the agri-food space. This is obviously a very important industry to the London region and southwestern Ontario as a whole, and we're kind of putting a mark on the space to say, we deal with a lot of agri-food companies, so companies that are taking, a raw product straight from the field and converting it into some type of value add product. So we deal with anything from kombucha uh, uh, to like prepared foods, where we can help them with shelf life testing or nutritional testing. We can help them extract oils from a product and then emulsify it into something else. And we're one of the few colleges or post-secondary institutions that has a cannabis research license, which allows us to really work in between of that new area of cannabis food products.
Mm-hmm. That's really interesting. Are there other programs that you have in the agriculture and food space?
From an academic perspective or from the research
From
perspective?
the research perspective, yeah.
Yeah, we're starting to get into some of the building tech area. We're doing a net zero project that is, it's not agricultural based, but there's a lot of applications when you get into net zero and building automation that actually have some flow through between. So anything that's IoT and network generated obviously has some applications that could be used for censoring fields. It could be in comparison to a building. A lot of similar approaches are taken in terms of getting good data and being able to access that data.
Hmm. That's very interesting. So it's almost like a smart farm. Do you have actual crops or anything like that, or is it mostly just technology?
It's just technology based right now. It's obviously something that would be very interesting to get into, but you know, setting up field trials and everything takes a long time. So we're sticking really in into the agri-food, the very biotech oriented food component, and doing the analytics behind it at this time. And when I say analytics, you know, determining what compounds are in foods and what that may mean for a particular company for their brand. So, you know, if you have a certain spin on the what that nutritional element is in your food and how that is promoting healthy mind, healthy body, all that type of stuff. We kind of help companies dive into that so they can show what that really is and use that properly with their brand.
So a lot of practical approaches to hands-on learning, sounds like.
Absolutely. So when you think about research at a college versus research at a university, it's all about applied research. So we're not coming up with a new next novel thing as a basic research project that is, you know, off of that particular professor's interest. The companies come to us with a challenge. We try to solve that challenge for them so that they can uh, you know, develop a new revenue stream or improve the revenue stream that they already have.
Hmm. So what would you say is one of the biggest accomplishments at Fanshawe recently?
Well, there's a couple of ones that we're quite proud of. The first one is obviously getting the cannabis research license. It's a long process to be able to have that at your facility, and when there's very few entities that have it, it means that we can provide a service to that industry where there's a lot of science being developed now, where it's all been kind of backroom science, so to speak, in the past. We're also very proud of our new lab that we have, which launched, I guess, a little bit more than 8 months ago. That allows us to work with companies and dedicate that space to just working with these companies. And it has some very amazing equipment. So this was all supported through the Canadian Foundation for Innovation as well as NSERC, and allows us to be able to support companies by reducing the capital costs for them to undertake R&D projects. So we cover a lot of that upfront costs for them, where they couldn't get access to the novel equipment that we have, or they couldn't get access to the manpower or a person, the talent that they need in order to undertake some of these projects. So we're able to kind of de-risk that R&D process for these companies as they try to come out with new products.
Hmm. Would you say you have, quite a number of students attending Fanshawe at the moment?
Uh, Well, obviously with COVID, things are changing, and I'm, you know, not the best person to speak about this either. But it's going to be a challenging time for post-secondary institutions. Fanshawe is doing a very good job at focusing on what they have to do in order to get through this stormy period. Luckily, that, you know, Fanshawe has a very strong online presence and is able to easily move courses that were traditionally done in the classroom online and still provide a great educational experience. But that, you know, that's going to be the path going forward for a lot of institutions. But luckily, Fanshawe was already ahead of the curve.
Mhm.
Awesome. Can you give us a little bit sort of a overview on some of the funding you have for agri-food companies at Fanshawe?
Absolutely. So there's two key funding pots that we have access to immediately. So when people think about grant funding, you think of long application cycles that you take a few weeks to write a grant, and then you wait another number of weeks in order to wait on a response. We actually have that grant funding allocated to us already. So through the Natural Science and Engineering Research Council, we have $2 million to deploy over the next few years to support agri-food companies. And this could be companies that are working on an actual food product, or it could be working with a company that has a waste stream from a food product that they want to provide some value add to and create into another product. We also have funding through what is called the Tsunami Network. This is the Southern Ontario Network for Advanced Manufacturing Innovation. And this funding also helps companies in a broad spectrum of things, but where we're focused on is the agri-food component, either helping a company create a new product or test an existing one, or actually go into their facility and look at their process and say, okay, there's some efficiencies that we can find here. And this funding is very helpful for a lot of companies that simply don't have the cash to put forward to hire a consultant um, to undertake that whole work. We only ask for a 25% cash contribution. So if the project is a $20,000 project, it's only a $5,000 cash contribution, but the company has to come up with in kind. So they put some of their time into it. If we're testing their products, they provide us some of their products as an in-kind contribution as well. And it really helps to de-risk some of those projects for companies. And it sounds like we may be taking away from the private industry, but we really aren't. What this means is that we can provide support to a company that wouldn't have been able to afford to work with those consultants or other like a fee-for-service lab in the area, and allows them to scale enough so that they can become a client for those consultants and other agencies. So really, it's a huge benefit of getting those companies through that really critical hump of getting a product to market, where a lot of those consultant firms really don't want to touch that at this point.
Great. Would you say that most of those companies are within the area, or are they across Canada, or like how do they find out about coming to Fanshawe?
Yeah, a lot of the companies we deal with are from the area, but we're starting now with a strong marketing campaign. We have a great marketing and outreach manager, Andrew, in our office, who's doing a great job of getting our message out through LinkedIn and other social media. We have some advertisements out through Better Farming magazine as well now. So people are starting to come in. We're getting some contacts from the Greater Toronto area as well as other places, even Ottawa now, for doing work in our laboratory.
That's excellent. I didn't know that existed. So that's a great opportunity for early stage agri-food companies.
Exactly, and we really promote working with accelerators like the Roundhouse Accelerator, because a company may come into some early stage angel type funding, and this is a way to leverage that funding. And venture investors and angels love to see that money leveraged. So you're getting $20,000 for a $5,000 investment. That's great use of our money that we're giving you. Please continue to do more. And in my own startup experience, the investors that I work with are very appreciative of you finding ways to leverage that funding further.
Colin, would you be able to tell us a bit about your partnership with RHA, and I guess what other partners are involved in that?
Yeah, that's a great question. So in terms of RHA, we look to help any of the agri-food companies there that we can that have agri-food spin. So we're happy to meet with them, bring them in to see what our resources are, how we can apply our grant funding to them, so that any funding that they've received through RHA we can leverage further. We also have a partnership with BioEnterprise Canada, which is obviously a great supporter of agri-food companies in Canada as a whole, and we work in a similar process. Anybody that's funded through them, we're more than happy to work with. Anybody that's not funded through them, but they have been working with, we're happy to work with as well. Both are great entities, and we're also expanding our reach to partner with other organizations like the Food Processors of Canada. We're working closely with Western now, and some of their agri-food initiatives that they're just starting to develop. So we're really trying to make it a collaborative space so that everybody can benefit, because we don't have all the skill sets for this. And, Western may have a couple of talented postdocs that we could bring in, or a couple talented students that may need some additional work that we don't have access to. There's a lot of great ways to extend research funding and in particular innovation funding further if we all know what each other are doing.
Mhm. So you're seeing an increase in the agri-food companies coming to you?
Yeah, absolutely. The last 6 months, even despite COVID, things have ramped up a fair bit. But we're also doing a lot more marketing than we ever have in the past. I don't know which one is which. Food companies in general is becoming a very exciting investment space across Canada. I'm hoping that continues because it's obviously a very important component of our economy. And I hope that interest will start to generate or interest in people wanting to create companies generates more interest on the other side in terms of venture investing in the space that is a little bit more aggressive than what we've seen in the past, because that will just spur on more innovation. And I think London is the kind of the perfect central spot for that to happen. And I think Fanshawe should be the player right in there working together with everybody else to make it happen.
Thank you, Colin, so much for sharing that information. Before we head out, is there anything else you'd like our viewers to know about?
No, I just encourage them to reach out to us. They can, if you have a project idea, they can go straight to our website and write a little description into our project entry form area, and will be somebody reaching out to you to see whether there's a fit for that project right away. And we're always just interested in hearing what people are working on and additional partnerships.
Okay. I just wanted to thank our listeners for tuning in to the Ready, Set, Grow podcast. And I just wanted to thank you again, Colin, for joining us and talking a bit about your work at Fanshawe College.
Thank you, Michael, and thank you, Diana.
Yeah. Thank you.